hacerte mi mujer. Y lo sé muy bien. Ven, vamos a acercarnos para ver cómo es esto de rozarnos piel con piel. Hoy quiero que te sientas mi mujer una y otra vez. Tu piel es dulce como la miel y sabes que él no la merece. Hoy tengo que hacerte mi mujer y lo sé muy bien. Lo sé muy bien, bebé. Real man, esto es para ti, él no te merece. Hoy hacemos el pacto, vete, vamos a hacer un contrato donde solo figure buen trato. Es puro sentimiento, con todo lo que digo no miento. Te quiero dejar en lo más alto y no me jacto. Baby, te enseño a bailar lento, muy lento, bebé. Toda la noche y de esto no me arrepiento. Si él quiere algo, estaré para el intento. Tú eres mía hasta mañana, lo siento. Ven, vamos a acercarnos para ver cómo es esto de rozarnos piel con piel. Hoy quiero que te sientas mi mujer una y otra vez. Tu piel es dulce como la miel y sabes que él no la merece. Hoy tengo que hacerte mi mujer y lo sé muy bien. Ven, vamos a acercarnos para ver cómo es esto de rozarnos piel con piel. Hoy quiero que te sientas mi mujer una y otra vez. Tu piel es dulce como la miel y sabes que él no la merece. Hoy tengo que hacerte mi mujer y lo sé muy bien.
You are all.
Everybody's voting for the friendly voice of radio, the people's choice. Music, weather, sports, and news, it's radio. The people choose. Everybody swinging to the swinging voice of radio, the people's choice. Big fry, small fry, dawn to dawn, it's radio that turns them on.
The views, opinions, and representations expressed on the Night Dreams Talk Radio Network and its website are those of the hosts, guests, and participants, and are not necessarily those of or endorsed by the network, its affiliated stations and broadcasts, the management, other hosts, or advertisers of the network. The shows found on the Night Dreams Talk Radio Network can, but do not necessarily, promote any particular lifestyle, belief, religion, political affiliation, or other personal practice. These shows are for entertainment purposes only and are not intended to treat, diagnose, and or claim any cure of disease or condition or give any medical or legal advice. You can advertise your business on Night Dreams Talk Radio and you will be heard worldwide. Why not contact us at nightdreamstalkradio@gmail.com. Coming to you from some far point station, like a cosmic tumbleweed, both north and south of the Pleiades. Here's your host, Gary Anderson.
Well, I hope everybody's had a great week. Tomorrow's Friday. Boy, this week has gone by so fast. Summer, boy, it's going to be over before we know it. Well, tonight we're going to be talking about alien abductions and what it did to our guests right after this. And we'll be right back.
Do you have a paranormal story you want to share on Night Dreams Talk Radio? You could be a guest. Email us at nightdreamstalkradio@gmail.com. If you would like to hear Night Dreams Talk Radio on your local radio station, let them know. Tell them to check out www.nightdreamstalkradio.com, and thank you.
You're listening to my friend Gary Anderson on Night Dreams Talk Radio, the best in paranormal radio.
Hey, John, I keep telling you, I'm not the best, I'm not the worst, but I'm certainly on the radio. Well, hey, tonight you might want to get yourself a nice cup of lemonade or maybe a nice can of or a bottle of beer. Sit back because we got a great guest. Dave is going to be talking about, well, his encounters he had with aliens being abducted since the age of 14. Dave, are you there?
I am here, Gary, and I'm glad to be back, buddy.
Well, I am glad to have you on. You want to tell everybody who you are and a little bit about yourself?
Okay, it's Dave Emmons. I'm from Illinois. And my first experience was when I was 14 years of age. And a best friend of mine and we saw this craft coming through the neighborhood. And it had white lights on it and one little red light. And it looked like one of these big, fat baby tops that you would take and push down on a rod, and a screw rod, I guess, and it'd twirl around. It looked like that. It was kind of plump, about 30 feet wide. It could have been 35 feet wide, somewhere in that area, and about 15 feet tall in height. And we saw a row of windows around the middle of it. We had walked up the street into an empty lot, and we followed this thing. We smelled what we thought was sulfur, but it was actually, now that I know, it's just ozone. It's a mixture of nitrogen, oxygen in the air that when it comes through, it burns through the bottom, I guess gives off an odor from the smoke or whatever. But we smelled that, and we had a 10 transistor radio that was also scratchy and making all kinds of noises. But when we got to this empty lot, we looked at this thing. It was about 75 feet in the air, and it was right over my backyard where I lived. And my buddy just lived about 3 houses down from me on the other side of the street. So we watched this thing. We pinched each other. We couldn't believe it. It just sat there real still, didn't make any noise. My buddy said he heard a whistling noise, but I didn't hear that. I don't know why that was something that was different in what we saw, whatever, but I was afraid that these beings were going to look out those portals, those windows. I told my buddy, I said, I don't want to see what they look like. And we pinched each other to make sure we were seeing this. Yeah.
Can you imagine at 14 years old, seeing a craft and having the windows? And, I was talking the other night about, aliens and stuff. We really don't know what aliens really look like, at least the majority of the people, because, we've been brainwashed for how many years, going back from the 40s, 50s with all these B movies, and supposedly these aliens either look like us or they look like horrible creatures or a giant fly with a helmet on. We don't even know the size of them, One of my guests was talking about, that they had a feeling that some of these aliens could be like miniature, 3-4 feet, or even down in the inch range. And depending on what solar system, what planet they come from, we don't know. So, I mean, God, at 14 years old to see something like that, were you really scared that night? When you went home, did you have trouble sleeping? Did you pull the blanket over your head?
I was actually excited, Gary. I had my adrenaline flowing, and there was a kind of like missing time also with what we looked at. My buddy and I cannot decide how much time was lapsed between 10:30 p.m. in the evening and about midnight or so when we got in our homes. And when I got home, my mom had to unlock the door, and she was really mad because I was in so late. So I didn't keep track of the time. I was 14 years old. What do you keep track of at 14? Yeah. So except you just hated to get up in the morning for school. Well, we were out of school at that time, though. It was just the beginning of summer break. And but my mom says, get in this house. I said, Mom, I saw a UFO. And she said, I'll UFO your butt. And so she was angry. But here's the thing that I've learned later on in life, and then I'll go back to the incident that really confirmed the abduction. My mom actually had seen a craft, and her family had seen a craft in the 50s, in the early 50s, in the back of my grandma's yard. It looked like a saucer, similar to what I saw, but I guess she just described it as a saucer. And my mom has had visitors in her house, and strange, tall, lanky visitors. And she said that she was touched and all this other stuff. She's 91 years old. I almost got her on the show with me tonight, Gary.
Well, that would have been interesting to, talk about, her encounter to seeing the UFO and these creatures, I got to ask you a question right off. I get a lot of guests, they'll come on and they say that aliens are here to serve mankind. They give off orbs and they're lovable. And then I get another group of guests on that come back and say, hey, no, they're evil. They're not here to serve man. at least not in the way that we interpret it. What type of feeling, honestly, Dave, did you get?
Well, I actually, throughout, I've seen 5 up-close UFOs. I have seen at least 3 aliens very consciously, and I've seen a couple of aliens in a very vivid regressed dream. And these regressions are so real I can just about touch them. But to go on with this idea about who they are and what they're up to, I actually think they've taken semen from me a couple of times. I've actually saw the tube down between my groin area a couple of different times, and I think they're taking DNA samples from us. They're hybriding us. They got a hybrid race that we don't know what planet they're doing this on or whatever, but they're hybriding us. Maybe they'll bring the hybrids back, and maybe the hybrids are amongst us right now. If you ever notice these genius little kids at 5 years of age that can play Mozart and can sing opera, it's getting amazing how smart the kids are nowadays.
Well, I've noticed that. I'm going on 68 years old. I don't know how old you are, Dave, but I've noticed, I've had 8 children, I do have 8 children. And I notice even them, now they range from 26 years old to 40, but they were so much more intelligent, going through school, adapting to video games, adapting to computers than I ever was. And now, like, I look at my grandkids, 4 or 5 years old, playing games on the computer and just, like, maxing out the games. I mean, the IQ level must be really high on these younger kids.
Right. I'm seeing that myself. I watch these talent shows. I read up a lot about with the UFO MUFON and everything. And I see that maybe the hybridization is taking place slowly right before our eyes, and we don't really know it, or we're not trying to admit to it. But also, they're walking amongst us, so they're in human form also. We have to realize that. I met one in a human form, so I know that they're in human form. Are they here to help us? I think they're here to help themselves in the long run. In the short run, maybe they're helping us with technology. Maybe they're helping the military with technology. It could be that they're helping us somewhat around the globe. We don't know. Maybe they're keeping us from a nuclear war. We don't know that either. But they don't want us to destroy ourselves, I don't think. But they have a plan, and of course, time is on their side.
Well, Dave, maybe they don't care if we destroy ourselves, but maybe they care if we destroy the Earth, because maybe down the road, maybe they're thinking about, populating our planet, and all we are is, a temporary host till they decide to take it over. It's all different views that you can look at this, but you look at all the people that are going missing. It's so many per year that I was reading the FBI statistics. There's over 300,000 people disappearing that there's no trace, and that's in our own country.
Did they have a breakdown of age groups or sex groups?
I didn't pay attention to that part, but I was reading that they just can't trace down what happened to them. Like they totally vanished off the earth. And then, back here maybe 7 or 8 months ago, I had an ex-government employee, with an agency, send me some pictures of, mutilation of cattle and mutilation of humans around the world. And when you start looking at somebody like in the rainforest or in Africa or Brazil, Argentina, that in the jungles even, that been, had their sex glands removed, their heart removed, their eyes removed, done with a laser precision that even we couldn't do in a hospital. That is the scary part. So, again, I will say I've had Calvin Parker on my show numerous times. And I asked him the last time he was on, I said, Calvin, do you feel they're here to serve man? Or are they evil?